Good morning. Welcome to episode 25 of the Driller Newscast, a weekly update on the news and stories impacting the water well and industrial drilling industry. Episode 25 is brought to you by TDH Manufacturing. TDH pump hoists are built to work as hard as you do, made with the latest technology to deliver the power and precise handling required on today's job sites. TDH will provide superior performance and unmatched versatility day in and day out. I'm your host, Brock Yorty, and this week in the news, we'll cover the update on the 10 trapped miners in Mexico and the U.S. Department of Labor's offering of a prevailing wage compliance seminar. Our main story is on the Water Well Trust Program offered by the Water Systems Council. But before we trip into this week's news, let's talk some safety. For this week's safety talk, I want us to think about what type of neighbor we are on a drilling, on a service project, on a construction project. Because let's face it, a lot of the projects we're doing right now with all of this new infrastructure law money or the Inflation Reduction Act, now law money, we need to think about these urban areas we're drilling in, these underserved communities that we're now coming into and helping rebuild infrastructure and get them to where they should be. And it starts with what is the decibel levels to our drill rig, to our pump hoist. TDH has a hybrid machine that makes it so we can reduce the amount of noise. We have equipment out there that is enclosed. If you think about your compressors and other containerized technologies, they're designed for airflow and cooling and noise mitigation to have all the doors shut. Think about our exhaust. Grab that decibel meter and walk around the job site if it's a professional grade meter that you've purchased from a safety company or it's an app on your smartphone. Let's see where the noise is and how we can mitigate the direction and how that's going to impact us. Because if we're going to be on these big projects with prevailing wages and urban, just close quarters, small footprints, it starts there. Then next, we need to consider what amount of cubic feet of material am I going to move today? Or if I'm servicing this pump, how many pieces of column or draw pipe, where are they going? Are they going on a trailer? Are they being set along into the grass? What type of damage? So being safety smart, we have our processes, we have our proper PPE, we have our proper equipment, but then it goes beyond that and conscious about how it can be impacting others around us, from fueling and exhaust and what direction. And sure, you're gonna say, it's a job site, we got big equipment, we got jobs to do, people know that it's an active job site. But in order for us as a drilling industry to be able to provide geothermal everywhere we want to, for us to be able to do some urban farming, irrigation wells, all the possibilities, it's going to take somebody that wants to be smart and surgical and understanding what type of disruption am I going to have today to the environment, to people, to traffic, and understanding how to mitigate that. Because again, that environment, people and traffic can also be hurt, and that's part of our safety program. So we need to be conscious and we need to be thinking about our situational awareness and spill response, or how that piece of equipment is coming in and out of that job site, the amount of dirt that we're going to put on the middle of the road. And finally, we talked last week about getting back to school. I'm a product of the 80s, and the intro to the Sesame Street in the 80s was children crawling through culverts and walking under suspended loads and playing on a job site. And obviously, we can't have that. So we need to be very conscious of, when we close these job sites up, have we locked everything down as secure as we can and made it so we have the least amount of possibilities of something bad going on. So this week, your safety discussion, your walk around your job site is, what if that 8-year-old gets out from the neighbors and comes over and starts climbing on our equipment? How do we have it set up? Do we have no trespassing signs? Do we have all the pieces of information in place, including, as people approach our job sites, the right safety attire to be on that job site in a banner? Or what is your safety plans? And when we get on the big job sites with the big drilling companies, they have a rally point and they say, nobody be on this point. You have to sign our active work safety program before you can come on site, or you have to be onboarded. But what about after hours, those other situations? We need to think about those, and we need to be that smart neighbor in order for us as the drilling industry and the service industry to get into more places. And those who can come up with a good program are going to be much more successful than others. So be smart, think about where your disruption is going off of the job site, because those out of water screwing up that garden or those flowers, they want water. But the folks around them, and that mud running down the street or running down the hill into the lake, or all of the things that we know is not the right thing to do, we got to be a better neighbor. Be safe, be a conscious contractor. This week in the news, again, we're going to drop our heads. We're going to send every bit of positive energy and prayers to the 10 miners and their families in Coahuila, Mexico. As of the filming of this, most of the rescue attempts have been halted from flooding. At one point, they'd gotten the water down to 5 meters, and it had continued again. We now know more information that on August 3rd, 15 miners were inside the coal mine in Coahuila, which is about 70 miles southwest of Eagle Pass, Texas. The authorities believe the miners breached a wall containing another flooded area. 5 miners managed to escape with injuries, but there has been no contact with the remaining 10. And for the past 2 weeks, there's been dozens of pumps used to try to lower these levels of water. They attempted a unmanned underwater vehicle to seek them, and then they sent in professional divers, and both were unsuccessful. And now we're learning that in June and July of 2021, there had been cave-ins at 2 Coahuila mines, which claimed the lives of 9 miners. Along with Mexico's worst mining accident, it occurred in Coahuila February 19th, 2006, when an explosion ripped through the Pasta de Conchos mine. While 73 miners were inside, 8 were rescued with injuries, including serious burns. The rest died, and only 2 of the bodies have been recovered. There is promises to go back and recover the other 63 bodies, but it's a highly complicated endeavor, and it is not started. So again, think about these men and their families, and understanding that mining and drilling is a dangerous job, and we have some of the best engineering and tribal knowledge out there to rescue these men. We just have to wait and see. And I hope by the time this episode airs, we're cheering and I can shoot something out on Twitter and LinkedIn saying, we got them out. But we know that sometimes this can take more time. And we saw with the Chilean miners that 69 days passed. So let's hope the same can happen for these. Next, this is some big news that we should talk about more. All of the available education we have out there to be able to diversify our businesses and be part of big construction and the infrastructure law and the inflation reduction law. There is plenty of drilling. And the United States Department of Labor is offering online compliance seminars for contracting agencies, contractors, unions, workers, and other stakeholders on the requirements of governing payment of prevailing wages on federally funded construction and service contracts. It's a big deal We are the most knowledgeable at drilling. Sometimes we have to team up on construction projects that are prevailing wages with unions, and it can be done. You can sign a master labor agreement. We are the most experience-based, knowledgeable professionals in drilling out there, and our people can get paid too to be part of these. And the unions will welcome them, especially in the deficit of drillers that are out there, and our knowledge and our equipment. So get on this seminar. It's presented by the Department of Wage and Hour Division. The seminars are part of the division's ongoing effort to increase awareness and improve compliance with federal prevailing wage requirements. The seminars will include video training on many Davis-Bacon and related acts and the McNamara-O'Hara Service Contract Act topics that participants can view on demand. In addition to recorded videos, the division will offer live online question and answer sessions on these compliances, which will be held 1:30 to 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. For the Davis-Bacon Act compliance sessions is September 13th, and the live session on Service Contract Act compliance is scheduled for September 14th. So you have just under 4 weeks to get your team signed up for this. This is the quote from the U.S. Department of Labor. With the Biden-Harris administration's unprecedented investment in the nation's infrastructure, the Wage and Hour Division wants to ensure that employers understand the importance of the compliance with Davis-Bacon and Service Contract Acts and other laws we enforce. This came from Principal Deputy Wage and Hour Administrator Jessica Lumen. Our efforts are intended to help create good jobs and support responsible employers by providing useful opportunities for contractors, workers, contracting agencies to understand the law that governs wage and benefits on federal contracts. The seminars are free, but you have to register. And to register to attend the Prevailing Wage Seminar and the Compliance Seminar, it's easy. It's as easy as buying concert tickets. They're hosting it through Eventbrite. Go on, search Eventbrite, and then look up the Prevailing Wage Seminar and sign up. Get your people involved. We should be drilling these holes. It's up to you. You look at the thermal network and jobs legislation that came through from New York and what we're seeing with the federal infrastructure law. Get your rigs on these projects and understand the rules to prevailing wages. For this week's feature story, I want to cover funding to provide safe drinking water and sanitary systems to underprivileged homes and communities. The numbers are staggering. 2 million Americans live without access to safe drinking water and sanitation. Even more of an impact, 23% of private wells tested by the United States Geological Survey show contaminants with health concerns such as arsenic, nitrates, uranium, and E. coli. These statistics were released by the U.S. Water Alliance, and you can go to uswateralliance.org and pull up this report. When you get a chance to read it, notice that Radhika Fox helps lead this report as CEO of U.S. Water Alliance. If you're wondering why that name sounds familiar, we have mentioned Radhika multiple times as she is now with the EPA as a critical player of the Waters of the United States roundtables and other EPA initiatives. Think about the colossal flooding that we've seen in Missouri and Kentucky and throughout the country. As groundwater professionals, we understand the serious consequences to surface water impacting groundwater quality and how that impacts our communities and our homes. And we should be doing well inspections, and we should be much more proactive in this in the education. You know, many of these smaller communities, they don't have true constructed wastewater treatment. They rely on cesspools or privies or straight pipes that discharge waste directly into surrounding environments. Our infrastructure, as we've learned with the waters of the United States, is 80 to 100 years old when it comes to wastewater and flood mitigation and all of those situations. And these are major contributors to our water quality through pathogens and forever chemicals and runoff. And we need to understand how these impact everyone, but disproportionately, they affect rural, minority, and economically disadvantaged communities that have no way to fight these impacts and have limited financial capacities. So now we have funding through the federal infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act to look into solutions and help with these challenges. And our allies to the groundwater industry, and who we should all be helping with their 2023 survey of the state of the water well industry, the Water System Council has acquired this funding with help from other foundations to make money available through the Groundwater Trust. And we're going to speak with Margaret Martins, which was on episode 18, and we ran out of time, so we weren't able to talk about the Groundwater Trust. So we're going to start there, and then we caught back up with Margaret at the South Atlantic Drilling Jubilee to talk more about this. And it's amazing what the Water System Council has done by bringing aid together from the United States Department of Agriculture to the National Groundwater Association to our friends at the Pentair Foundation and Culligan and the Groundwater Foundation, the Collingsworth Foundation, the Chris Long Foundation, our friends at the Grumfoss Foundation, and Community Foundation of Northeast Florida, Dolores Barr Weaver Legacy Fund. And we're going to jump back to that discussion I had with Margaret that you have not seen before, right here on the news, to talk about the Groundwater Trust and how we as a community can trust it and understand that the funding is there. And she'll dive deep into that. And then the second part, we're going to catch back up with her at the South Atlantic Drilling Jubilee and talk a little bit more about it. This is an excellent topic.
So Water Systems Council developed a nonprofit called the Water Well Trust. Back in 2010, we got our 501c3. And that was the other reason I was hired, was because I had background in nonprofit development. So I helped develop the Water Well Trust, and we provide financing, loans to low-income Americans who don't have access to safe water in their homes. And there are over 2 million Americans living without water in their homes. And people do not realize that. The Water Systems Council members recognize that there's a lot of great organizations going to other countries and drilling wells for people without water. Nobody was doing it here on a national basis. So we started our nonprofit. We did our first couple of pilot projects back in 2012 with funding from Water Systems Council members. And then in 2014, we went after funding from USDA. They have a program called, it used to be called the Household Water Well Systems Grant Program. It's now the Decentralized Water Systems Grant Program. And since 2014, we've been getting yearly grants from them that we can then, that is the basis for providing these loans to Americans. So it's an easy process, quick process, and much needed. So and I'd love to talk to you about some more at another time. And but it's a great thing. And so the Water Well Guys Facebook page, somebody had shared on there a copy of a letter that one of my staff had sent to, I think it was either to a driller or to a applicant, saying they'd been approved for financing. Sometimes we have to send a letter to a driller because they want to make sure that we guarantee that we're going to be covering the cost of the drill. And so they were asking if we were a scam on the Facebook page. So I had to reply. I don't engage in a lot of social media, but I felt I needed to reply. So I replied yesterday and said, we are legit, because we did our latest video that we have that's on our website. We love this one gentleman, the client that we interviewed, and he said, they're legit. And we were like, we love that. So just trying to explain that, yes, we are a legitimate national program. that we can provide up to $15,000 in a loan for a well. And beginning in 2021, the program was expanded. That's why it's now called the Decentralized Water Systems Program, because we can now also provide funding for septic, which is very much needed. As we know, most people who have a well have a septic system, and there really wasn't any funding out there available to folks who needed septic. So,
and that's you said 2 million Americans or 2 million wells out there?
There's 2 million Americans that are living without water.
And when we look at the data, there's roughly about 40 million Americans that are on private water wells. So 2 million makes that 5% of Americans have unsafe drinking water that is supplied by a private water well. And that's something that all of us really should be thinking about as stewards of our environment and our community, and having good, clean water for everybody to drink.
Well, and a lot of these people just have no water. Some of them have a well that's failed or been contaminated, but most of these people are people who have moved into an area. For instance, our first family that we worked with, they moved into an area and were promised that the water lines were going to come out to their home. But then the county figures out it's not cost effective. It was a mile. It was going to cost $1.5 million to run that water line to a few low-income homes. It's so cost prohibitive to run lines in a lot of these situations that people end up just never getting access to public water. So there really are a lot of people that are hauling water to their homes, doing rainwater catchment and things like that. I mean, now when I see a truck with one of those square white tanks in the back of it, you would think that somebody's doing that for their animals or something else. Now I look at it, I'm thinking that person doesn't have water in their house. They're hauling water.
Hi, this is Brock Yorty with The Driller. We are live at the 2022 South Atlantic Drilling Jubilee, and I have Margaret Martins with the Water System Council. Just earlier today, we talked Jesse and geeked out about all of the water legislation and great things that they are doing there, but this is even more important, more part of our industry that we could all do better with. And I want Margaret to explain to us all what the Groundwater Trust is and how it can help benefit a lot of Americans and our drilling industry.
Okay, so the Water Well Trust is a nonprofit that was created by the Water Systems Council back in 2010. We realized that there were a lot of folks that were going to other countries and drilling wells for people who don't have access to safe drinking water, but nobody was doing it here for the millions of Americans who were living without safe drinking water in their homes. And so we got our 501c3 in 2010, worked a couple of years on developing the program and the criteria and all that, and we did our first pilot projects in 2012. Since 2014, we've been getting USDA funding, and now we have funds available throughout the United States for these low-income families who need help getting access to safe water. It's a really simple program as far as the application process goes. You just have to be the owner and occupant of the home. It doesn't mean the home has to be paid for. You just have to be it's owner-occupied property. You can't have access to public water. You have to have been in the home for at least a year. There's some income requirements, and that varies by state, but it's 60% area median income. So, and you have to show proof of paid property tax and income tax if you file it. So it's a really simple process. You send us a copy of your deed. We do not do credit checks, and we do not put liens on the property. So as soon as we get an application with all the correct documentation, we're able to process that within a few days and get the loan approved.
Who pays the drilling company?
The Water Well Trust pays the drilling company directly. The funds never go to the homeowner. It is a direct exchange. After the work is complete, we have a form that the homeowner fills out that says the work is complete and it's good, I have running water. We get that form, we send the check directly to the contractor.
And there's a lot of Americans out there that have poor water quality, bad wells. living without water. And this is such a phenomenal trust and program for us to have. And if us as drillers aren't paying attention, suddenly these funds start going elsewhere into water treatment and other things. And so we need to be very cognizant and helping, homes that weren't able to have a good water system. And this is a great program for that.
And I just want to add one thing that just changed with the latest USDA funding is they now also are covering the cost of septic systems. I mean, we can loan up to $15,000 for both well and septic.
That's wonderful information.
Yeah.
Contact the Water System Council. You have a customer that can't afford to get a well, or you're at one of your community programs and you're hearing these situations of so-and-so's water's been down and they're taking showers elsewhere and all of these things. There's programs out there and we need to be helping these people.
Yes, it's a big need out there. And so if you've got folks, send them our way and we'll hopefully be able to help them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brock. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining me for episode 25 of the Driller Newscast, brought to you by our friends at TDH Manufacturing. Every vision and feature that TDH has engineered is with one goal in mind: to enable the contractor to increase their revenue simply because their pump hoist is more efficient and safe and innovative. From the hybrid machine that we've looked at a couple times on this month's newscast to all the great things that they're doing. Give Team TDH a call and see how they can impact your business with your next piece of equipment. One thing we didn't discuss this week is the deadline has passed. The Colorado River Compact States, Upper and Lower Basin. Upper Basin sent a letter to the Department of Reclamation, but we're yet to hear the full plan. Hopefully by the 22nd of August, we've heard something. But one thing that has been the trend is the Upper Basin, including Wyoming and Utah, along with the Upper Basin letter, have said, we will do whatever it takes to help reduce. However, the water that's going into the lower basin and that consumption is impacting everything. And we know that northern Mexico is having issues and that we need to reduce our water usage. $4 billion to fight that. In the Inflation Reduction Act, we know that California has come up with another $4 billion to work with. We need Arizona to look at their mitigation in the same. And we as professionals have to be there to support, educate, and understand who is advocating for water consumption and how it's being done. Again, let's pray for the 10 miners that are trapped in Coahuila, Mexico. Hopefully by the time this episode is dropped, they've been rescued. Understand that you have to be a conscious contractor, not only to your customer, but to the neighbors around, especially as these projects are opening up and we're working in tight footprints and urban areas. Sign up on Eventbrite for the Prevailing Wage Education on September 13th and September 14th, 2022. It's going to be some good education. It's a great way to diversify your business. And again, thank you, Water System Council, for bringing the aid together. I've heard there's 400 homes that require water well drillers to help them. We need to be part of this. We talk about doing humanitarian aid around the world, and that is wonderful for water, and the water crisis is everywhere. But we have 2 million Americans that need water here, and that can change their entire outcome of life and how things are happening and the jobs that they're able to get and just everything. It's amazing that we get to help make water come out of the ground and provide it for families. And we need to be doing it for as many underprivileged situations that we can get into. The Water System Council with the Groundwater Trust, the funding is coming from there. This funding is also now being used for water treatment. So if you've diversified your business into that, it's very important for you to think about getting involved in those in the maintenance programs so that we can maintain good water quality along with septics and everything else. Have a great week. Thank you.